In 2005, at the commencement ceremony of Stanford University, Steve Jobs stood before graduates and ended his speech with two simple words: "Stay hungry, stay foolish." Those words were not about food. They were about desire, restlessness, a refusal to be satisfied. But what did he really mean? And what does it have to do with money? Most people think hunger is about scarcity. Jobs meant something different. He meant, do not become comfortable. In a world where success often leads to comfort, and comfort slowly turns into complacency, stay hungry was a warning. When you make money, it's easy to stop pushing. When your salary rises, your risk appetite falls. When your status improves, your curiosity declines. Jobs believed that the moment you think you've made it, you start declining. Hunger is the edge. But here's the paradox. Hunger can mean two opposite things. There is financial hunger, the endless chase for more. More income, more assets, more valuation, more market share. That hunger can become a trap. It can turn into greed. But Jobs wasn't talking about greed. He was talking about creative hunger. The hunger to build, to question, to disrupt yourself before someone else does. To remain a beginner even after becoming a master. Remember, Jobs was fired from his own company, Apple. Imagine that. The founder removed. That kind of failure could have ended a career. Instead, it sharpened his hunger. He started next. He invested in Pixar. He returned to Apple years later with a beginner's mindset. Hunger, for him, meant never assuming permanence. In money terms, nothing is guaranteed. Not your job, not your company, not your relevance. So you stay hungry not because you lack, but because you understand how fragile success is. Now here's the deeper layer. Money often promises security, but innovation requires insecurity. If you become too financially safe, you may stop experimenting. If you become too comfortable, you may stop imagining. Stay hungry is not about being broke. It's about staying emotionally unsatisfied with mediocrity. It's about protecting your ambition from your own comfort. And what about stay foolish? Foolish means willing to try what others consider irrational. Investing in ideas before they make financial sense. Building products before there's proof. Leaving safe paths for uncertain ones. In the world of money, foolishness can look reckless. But without calculated foolishness, nothing new is born. Every breakthrough looks foolish in the beginning. So what does this mean for us? In a world of AI, automation, and shifting economies, where entire industries can disappear overnight, stay hungry means keep learning, keep adapting, keep questioning your own success. Because money alone is not the goal. Relevance is. Growth is. Creation is. Steve Jobs' final message wasn't about wealth. It was about vitality. To stay hungry is to stay alive, mentally, creatively, spiritually. And perhaps the ultimate philosophy of money is this: make enough to live, but never let comfort dull your edge. Stay hungry. Stay foolish, and let your ambition be fueled not by fear of scarcity, but by the love of possibility. Now pause, because there's an honest objection here. Someone listening might say, of course he can say stay hungry. He was rich. It's easy to romanticize hunger when your fridge is full. There are two kinds of hunger. The first is survival hunger. The hunger of rent due, medical bills, debt collectors, uncertain groceries. That hunger is not poetic. It is exhausting. And no philosophy should trivialize that. When you are financially insecure, your priority is stability, not disruption, not bold risk-taking, not romantic experimentation. So yes, it is easier to preach boldness when your survival is secured. But Jobs' statement wasn't about survival hunger. It was about complacency hunger. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Complacency doesn't only affect the rich. It affects the middle-class professional who stops learning, the business owner who stops innovating, the employee who stops upgrading skills, the investor who assumes yesterday's strategy will work forever. Complacency is democratic. It afflicts not only a certain class of people. In fact, sometimes the wealthy become the most complacent. History is full of dominant companies that stumbled when they stopped evolving. Blockbuster collapsed. Nokia faded from its peak. Kodak had to reinvent itself. Success can be more dangerous than struggle. But let's go even deeper. When Jobs said, "Stay hungry," he was not born rich. He was adopted. He dropped out of college. He slept on floors. He returned Coke bottles for food money. He experienced real uncertainty long before he experienced wealth. So when he said, "Stay hungry," he wasn't glorifying poverty. He was warning against psychological comfort, the kind that whispers, "You've done enough. You're safe. You don't need to evolve." Now here is the balanced view. If you are struggling financially, your first responsibility is not to stay hungry. It is to become stable. Build the foundation. Reduce debt. Increase skills. Protect your downside. Stability first. Then hunger. Because creative hunger without stability can become chaos. But stability without hunger becomes stagnation. The art is sequencing. So how should we reinterpret Jobs' words for ordinary people? Maybe like this: secure your base, but never retire your curiosity. Earn your safety, but never lose your edge. Build comfort, but don't worship it. The richest interpretation of stay hungry is not about staying broke. It is about staying unfinished. Always a student, always evolving, always willing to disrupt your own comfort before the world does it for you. And that advice is not just for the wealthy. It's for anyone who wants to remain relevant in a world that never stops changing. So yes, stay hungry, stay foolish, after paying your bills. See you next time.